Layla Voss had been driving for 19 hours straight, the kind of exhausted fugue where the road becomes a vein and the white lines pulse like capillaries. The divorce papers were still warm in the glove compartment, signed that morning in a Chicago courthouse that smelled of lemon polish and defeat. Her newly acquired ex-husband had called her cold as a spider's heart during the final screaming match. The irony would arrive later. Wearing too many legs, the Civic began to die somewhere past the Indiana line. First the temperature gauge climbed, then the engine made a sound like wet meat tearing. Layla coaxed it another mile before it coughed oil like blood from dying lungs, black and thick onto the asphalt, and finally quit. Night had already swallowed the sky. Rain came down in sheets that felt deliberate, felt personal. A crooked sign leaned out of the dark, Weaver's Rest, established in 1847. Population 347, the town that never unravels. She laughed once, a cracked sound, then shouldered her bag and began the long walk. The first house she reached had a porch light burning, the bulb inside flickering like a dying eye. A hand-painted shingle read Martha's Motor and Motel. The door opened before she could knock. Tom Weaver filled the frame. 6'4", shoulders like bridge cables, face carved from old oak. Grease blackened his palms in permanent filigree. His eyes were the pale grey of spider silk left too long in moonlight. "Car trouble?" he asked, voice soft as a lullaby. Lila explained. Tom listened without blinking. "I'll tow her in the morning," he said. "Rain's too mean tonight. Martha's got a room. Clean sheets, hot soup on the house till she's fixed." Martha appeared behind him like a summoned ghost, plump, silver-haired, cheeks rosy as fresh wounds. She smelled of cinnamon and something metallic like blood left to cool. A silver chain vanished between her breasts. Something beneath the fabric rolled slowly, as though stretching after a long sleep. "Poor lamb," Martha murmured, pressing a mug into Lila's hands. The coffee was thick, sweet, and left a film on the tongue that tasted of pennies and desire. Room 7 was at the end of a short hallway that smelled of lavender and wet earth. The bed sagged in the middle like a cradle. Above it hung a small tapestry, a woman suspended in black threads, the body arched in either agony or orgasm, spiders the size of kittens feeding from slits opened along her ribs. The artist had captured the exact moment her eyes began to multiply. Lila slept, in the dream her mother, dead these 26 years. She stood at the foot of the bed, wearing only a silk scarf that moved on its own, sliding across her throat like a lover's tongue. "They're coming for the weaving," her mother whispered. "Run." Leela woke with silk between her teeth. Day 1, Tom had the Civic in the garage by 8. "Radiator's gone," he said, wiping his hands. "Need a part from Fort Wayne. 3 days, maybe 4. Lila's stomach folded. She had a job interview in the city in 5 days, a life to pretend to start. But the rain had turned the roads to black soup and her credit cards were coughing up dust. She spent the morning walking the town. Weaver's Rest was impossibly pretty, the kind of place that existed only in postcards or nightmares. White clapboard houses with widows' walks. A main street lined with hanging baskets of night-blooming flowers that opened only after dusk, releasing a scent like rotting honey. The Silk Spoon Diner had a neon sign shaped like a spider missing 2 legs. Inside, every patron smiled at her by name. "Morning, Lila," the waitress said, pouring coffee without being asked. Her name tag read Sally Weaver. A thin red line circled her throat like a necklace that had been pulled too tight. Lila ordered eggs. They arrived sunny side up, the yolks trembling like nervous eyes. In the afternoon she found the library. Elias Weaver, the librarian, was a skeletal man whose hands shook as he stamped books. His left eyelid drooped, revealing a sliver of something black and glistening beneath. "Local history?" he offered, voice papery. "We have everything." She took the heaviest volume, The Chronicle of the Eternal Weave, 1847 to present. The frontispiece showed the town founder, Abigail Weaver, naked and crucified upside down on a loom of human bones, her belly opened like a book while spiders embroidered her intestines into. Scripture. Lila read until the light failed. The entries grew more explicit with each decade. 1873, the chosen vessel, a young widow, lasted 11 days. Her screams became hymns. Her womb was the first true egg sac. 1921, the Great Weaving, 43 outsiders. The town feasted for a month on what remained. 1987, the last vessel before silence. A woman named Margaret Voss. She escaped. The town starved for 30 years. Margaret Voss, Leela's mother. The book slipped from her fingers. That night at the diner, Billy Weaver slid into her booth. 23 rail-thin eyes like trapped moths. He kept glancing at the door. "You need to leave," he whispered. "Tonight, steal a car. Walk if you have to." "Why? My sister wore this." He pushed a silver spider pendant across the table. One leg was missing. "Last summer, she came back different," said the weaver, showed her the truth. "Then she asked me to help her molt." The bell above the door rang. Sheriff Harlan Weaver entered, tall and thin as a praying mantis. His uniform was spotless. His fingernails were black to the quick. "Evening, folks," he said. His smile showed every tooth. "Billy, are you helping our guest?" Billy fled. Harlan took his seat. "Rules here are simple, Miss Voss. Stay close after dark. The woods get lonely. They like company." He left a 20 and a single strand of silk on the table. The silk was warm. Leela waited until 2 a.m. Then she ran. The garage was unlocked. Her car sat on the lift, hood open like a flayed chest. Tools lay arranged with surgical precision. On the workbench, a jar labeled Mother's Milk containing thick amber fluid that swirled on its own. Beside it, a human radius bone wrapped in silk. She hot-wired the Civic anyway. The engine turned over with a wet, satisfied sound, as though it had been waiting. She made it 3 miles before the tires shredded, not cut, but shredded, from within, as though something had grown inside the rubber and clawed its way out. The car slewed into a ditch. Figures moved between the trees. Lanterns, soft singing, dozens of them. They carried her back gently, almost lovingly. Martha stroked her hair. "Shh, lamb. The weaver has waited so long for blood like yours." Day 2. They did not lock her in. They simply watched. Lila spent the day pretending compliance while mapping escape routes. She attended the harvest festival in the town square because refusal felt more dangerous. Silk banners hung from every lamppost, black and glistening, embroidered with phrases in a language that hurt to look at directly. The mayor, old Abigail's great-great-grandson, gave a speech about community and renewal. Then they brought out the first sacrifice of the festival, a hitchhiker they'd kept in the root cellar for weeks, a boy, no older than 19, naked, already trembling. They tied him to the central maypole, which was not wood but a fused column of human spines. The spiders came at dusk. They descended in a living curtain, each the size of a dinner plate, bodies mottled red and black like fresh bruises. The boy screamed when the first fangs pierced his thighs. The venom did not kill. It rewrote. Lila watched, unable to look away, as the skin of his legs split along the seams, peeling back like wet wallpaper. Muscle glistened, then began to lengthen. Bones cracking and reforming into jointed spider limbs. His genitals retracted into a slit that became a spinneret. Silk jetted out in thick ropes as he convulsed violently, hips bucking against nothing. His eyes multiplied. 8, then 16. They wept black tears that the smaller spiders drank. By midnight, he was no longer recognizably human. A centaur of meat and chitin, still screaming in a voice that had become a wet clicking. The crowd applauded politely as though at a school play. Lila vomited behind the bandstand. Sally Weaver rubbed her back. "First time's always hardest, honey. You'll learn to love the sound they make when the silk comes." That night, Leela tried the church. The steeple was a giant spindle. Inside, the pews were upholstered in tanned human skin, the grain still showing faint tattoos. The basement door was unlocked. The pit was 30 feet deep. Bodies in every stage of transformation hung from silk hammocks, some still breathed. One woman, half her face gone, the other half beautiful, reached for Leela with a hand that ended in 8 delicate hooks. "It feels like being born and having sex at the same time," she whispered. "Join us, please. The loneliness is worse than the pain." Leela ran. Day 3, they stopped pretending. She woke to find her room draped in fresh silk. It clung to her skin like a second, warmer epidermis. When she tried to tear it off, the silk tore her, leaving shallow red grooves that immediately beaded with new thread. Tom and Harlan were waiting in the hallway. "Time for the preparation," Tom said gently. They took her to the woods. The clearing was larger than she remembered. The altar was a single massive block of black stone veined with living silk that pulsed in time with her heart. Above it, the previous night's centaur boy still hung, now fully transformed, his new abdomen swollen with eggs that shifted and clicked. They stripped her slowly, reverently. Martha kissed each inch of skin as it was revealed. "So beautiful. Just like your mother." Lila fought. She broke a nose, clawed an eye. They only smiled wider. The silk bonds that replaced the ropes were warm and alive. They tightened when she struggled, cutting lovingly into flesh, drawing thin lines of blood that the spiders licked clean. The ritual began at moonrise. First came the lesser sacrifices, 7 of them, to season the vessel. Each was brought forward and opened while still conscious. Lila was forced to watch every second. The first, a middle-aged man, was flayed from collarbone to groin. His skin was peeled in one continuous sheet and stretched on a loom. While he screamed, spiders crawled inside the exposed muscle and began spinning new connective tissue, turning his body into a living tapestry. His intestines were gently uncoiled, each loop embroidered with tiny sigils, then fed back into the cavity where they continued to function, now glowing with inner light. The second was a young woman. They opened her chest like a book. Her heart was lifted out, still beating, and placed in a web cradle. Spiders wove a new pericardium from her own lung tissue while she watched, eyes wide with horrified ecstasy. When they returned the heart, it beat stronger, louder, in time with the greater weaver. Each death fed the air itself. The clearing thickened with the smell of copper and sex. By the 6th sacrifice, Lila was no longer fully human in her mind. The venom they had force-fed her earlier sang in her blood. Pain had become a color. Fear had become foreplay. Then it was her turn. They laid her on the altar. The stone was body warm. Harlan raised the ritual blade. 8 fused spider legs sharpened to mirrors. He made the first cut, a shallow circle around her navel. Blood welled, spiders poured in. The transformation was not swift. The weaver wanted her to feel every inch. Her skin split along fault lines she had never known existed. From each fissure silk extruded, not from outside but from within her own pores, becoming spinnerets. Her spine lengthened with wet pops, 8 new limbs budding from her lower back, unfurling like bloody flowers. Each leg came with its own nervous system. She felt the cold night air on their sensitive hairs, the texture of the stone, the taste of fear on the wind. Her belly swelled. Eggs. Dozens. Hundreds even. They pressed against her ribs from inside, shifting, whispering in tiny voices that sounded like her own childhood laughter. Her eyes multiplied. The world became a lattice of heat signatures and motion. She saw the hearts of every cultist glowing like lanterns. She saw the greater weaver at the center of the web, vast, ancient, a god of meat and hunger that had been waiting since the first spider learned to spin. It spoke directly into the new chambers of her mind. "You are the flaw in the perfection." Your mother fled. "You will not," Lila screamed. The scream became silk. The battle inside her lasted a lifetime and no time at all. She saw the god's true nature, an exile from a dimension of pure desire and consumption. It had shaped this town the way a spider shapes its web, beautiful, sticky, inevitable. The cult had kept it small, contained, feeding it just enough to survive. But Leela's blood was the key. Margaret Voss had carried the mutation that could let the weaver grow beyond the town, beyond the state, perhaps beyond the world. Lila fought. She tore at the threads connecting her will to the gods. She felt its surprise, then its delight. The more she struggled, the more it loved her. In the end, she did not win. She negotiated. She would become the new weaver. She would leave this town. She would spread the gift slowly, gently to those who were already broken the way she had been broken, the lonely, the grieving. The ones who whispered to the dark. The cultists sensed the change. Harlan raised the blade for the killing cut. Lila's new legs moved faster than thought. She impaled him through the chest. Silk jetted from her own spinnerets, wrapping him like a lover. She pulled him close and kissed him as his body unraveled, feeding every scrap of him to the eggs inside her. The clearing erupted. Martha tried to run. Lila caught her with a web line and reeled her in. The old woman's skin split beautifully as she was folded into the greater mass. Ilias's head flowered open like a lily, legs blooming from his neck. Billy was the last. He looked at her with something like relief. "Make it quick," he whispered. She did not. She made it merciful. She wove him into the first true egg sac, a place of honor. When the sun rose, Weaver's rest was silent except for the soft clicking of new legs learning to walk. Leela returned to the garage on 8 legs. Her human torso remained beautiful, unmarked, the face of a woman who had finally come home. The rest of her was glory and nightmare. The Civic waited, transformed. Its body was now chitin and silk, the engine a living heart that beat in time with hers. She folded herself inside, the seat reshaped to cradle her abdomen. She drove away. Behind her, the town began to collapse in on itself, houses folding like paper lanterns, releasing clouds of newborn spiders that rose into the dawn like glittering ash. Leela drove east toward the city. The road felt different now. Every crack, every curve, a thread in a larger pattern she could see with her new eyes. She stopped only once, in a rest area. A young woman sat alone at a picnic table, crying over a phone. Fresh divorce papers, red eyes, beautiful. Lila approached on silent legs. "Car trouble?" she asked, voice soft as silk. The woman looked up. Something in Lila's smile made her shiver and smile back. Leela offered her a ride. As they drove on together, the passenger never noticed the small, warm weight that had crawled from Lila's sleeve onto her thigh, a single perfect spider already spinning. In the rearview mirror, Leela's compound eyes reflected 8 perfect versions of her own smile. She was free. She was the web now, and the road, like all roads, always led back to the Weaver. Somewhere far behind, in the ruins of Weaver's Rest, a single human heart still beat inside a silk cocoon. Billy's heart kept alive, listening. It was the only witness to the truth. Leela had not defeated the god. She had become its favorite daughter.